Welcome to the Redvee TV Show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2025 season, where no microphone is required.
We'll just shout loud.
Well, do you know what? That video we did on Friday night after the game, there's a couple of people who said, "Did you enjoy the refreshments?" I'm like, stone cold sober. The most I had was a bottle of Pepsi. You were
I know
driving?
I was driving. Yeah, yeah. I like the person who got onto my t-shirt though. A succulent Chinese meal. He got onto it. Well done. Give him
Yes.
give him top marks for that.
Yes.
Excellent work.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were giddy because 20 seconds before we went on camera, I'd opened the bag that I'd carried round all night as a lump to find out that we didn't have a microphone. So
Whoa,
you,
whoa, 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 whoa! To find out you hadn't brought the microphone.
yeah, yeah. And then, so you suggested having the camera put right in front of our face so
Yeah.
that it picked us up on the camera. And that just, in my head, inspired me to quote Wayne's World, which is my favourite film.
Yeah, I think to be fair, the thumbnail that was used for it as well seemed like we were a bit merry, but I think we'll save that for early September. Eh?
Why is that when we get knocked out of the playoffs?
No, that's when we play Wigan.
All right, yeah. Okay.
Oh, and we need the drink to get through it.
Right, let's get straight into the show. Season's flying by, number 31 this episode. Wello and Wakey, and we're going to start off with a discussion about Wello's future. He was asked during the press this week whether any discussions had taken place regarding next season, and he said they hadn't. But obviously, he trusts Russia and Eamonn managed to have the discussions at the right time. Um, Now, obviously, results have picked up a lot. Regardless of what either of us think at this moment in time, I firmly believe that Paul Wellens will be St. Helens head coach in 2026.
Yeah, you said that a couple of times to me, kind of on the terraces in the car going to ways and that. That's what you believe. I could see it happening. I think that, as you say rightly, regardless of what we think, there is an overhaul needed at Saints, playing wise. Some would argue off the field as well. But it's a case of if there is no one available that you want as your head coach, you have someone in situ. Do you just carry on with them? If the board choose that that's the route they want to go with, then there isn't really much we can do about it. I think people may well vote with their wallets, um, or at least those who make noise on social media may vote with their wallets and not buy tickets, not renew, because there's been obviously against the top teams, we've not seen Saints play well enough to win at all. I say top teams and Warrington, we've just not been able to get over the line against them. In how many is it now? 18, 19, something like that. Um, whether you believe it's the right thing or not is another matter. But you can see if Saints want to keep some kind of continuity there, keeping the coaching staff as it is, could be one way of doing that.
I'm I'm torn a little bit because I feel that a lot of the results are down to quite simply the players not being as good as the oppositions a lot of the time. And I think better players equal better results on the whole, which really concerns me that the recruitment for next year seems at this moment in time, at least on the face of it, non-existent. And you have to believe it's non-existent because the rumour mill in this town, when somebody sneezes at the club, it leaks. So the fact that there hasn't been any leaks, well, they've not plugged the sieve, have they? Um, and but the other part of me is I feel at times Wello lets himself down with some of his decisions around personnel and in match use. Um, But since that Warrington performance when we were absolutely scathing, on the whole, things have picked up. I was looking at some stats today. In the last 10 games, we've had four shutouts. All the four games we've conceded less than 6 points. So 8 games where you've conceded less than six, um, interspersed with the battering at Hull KR and the home defeat against Lee, which although Lee were a much better team than us on the night, there was a little bit of mitigation with who we had missing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about players, but we're also seemingly playing the same style as 3 years ago with those players and not evolving. Um,
Can you evolve if you don't change the playing squad?
that's my point is now they've got to back him. If they're going to put him, give him another deal, they've got to back him. They've got to back him 100%. As you say, it's really quiet at the minute. Are we waiting so we're not bitten by, when one transfer happens and all of a sudden a couple of players start moving and we don't want to kind of go too early. But on the other hand, you don't want to go too late as well. You don't want to be waiting around and shopping in the Wonga Blake bargain bin again. You need to get that balance right. You're right, when we called it woeful and inept, I'd made a little note. The games after that, so we lost to Warrington. We then lost abjectly to Leeds at Magic. Expected to beat two awful teams in Castellan and Huddersfield. Hull KR defeat expected, I think most would say, but it was still disappointing the manner in which we kind of
Capitulated.
didn't, yeah, didn't give him that run that we were hoping we were going to see. Expected to beat Salford, everybody is. Good win against Leeds. Leeds weren't at the best, but still a team who's in and around where you are in the playoffs. Good win. Again, expected to beat Salford. Hull away, we had a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then looked rudderless. Leeds, rearguard action really in that 6-0 win, and then Lee beaten by the better team. I think what I need to see from Saints is we've got that defensive solid line at the minute. We need to see that rolling into attack. I think we've got a very functional 6 and 7 combination at the minute, which makes that difficult. But we can't just keep doing the containing kicks and the hoping somebody's got to make a mistake. I get he said in his comments about an attritional style of earning the way that you can then kind of put your set plays on and score your points. I get that. You've got to earn the right to score. But I need to see an awful lot more here before I am happy with Wello getting a new deal. I've not seen enough to necessarily say that it is completely warranted. And this is me. I think I'm being very, very polite here as well. I need to see more, and I think that comes from the chairman and the CEO down as well, all the way down to the playing staff, that they need to give him the tools to play the style of rugby he can play, and we kept on getting told at the start of the season we were going to play. And if he gets them tools and can't do it, then you obviously move him on. If he gets them tools and it starts clicking, your hope of having a Saints coach for the next 10 years becomes a proper possibility. And the one thing I just want to add before you come in again is I'm 100% behind Paul Wellens. I'm 100%. As long as he is our coach, I want him to do well. I'm not one of these players who wants him to do badly, but I can't then lie about what I've seen with my own eyes and my opinion. I'm not going to change my opinion on it, and I'll be very honest and truthful with what I think. It's not anybody else's opinion; it's mine. So yeah, I'm behind him, but I need to see more before I see this is a justified retention if it happens.
I almost see the club as a tree, and the tree's got a disease at the minute. And Wello is just a branch of it, of that tree. Cutting off a branch doesn't cure your tree.
I like Alan Fitchman.
I was thinking more Eric Cantona there when the seagulls follow the trawler. Um, I'm a little bit, and you see some like anger on social media, which is sometimes it's over the top. I almost think what's worse than that is there is a degree of apathy that has crept in now, of just acceptance of what we are, and is that worse than anger?
Um, Listen, at times it can be. I think if you there's a difference between apathy and the what I'm going to call people who think that everything's rosy, and people knowing that sport is cyclical, so hopefully it'll come back round.
And we've said
The
that.
issue, yeah, the issue with you hope it comes back round is we can hope it as fans, but as a club, we need to be making sure it comes back round. You cannot be falling off the edge of a cliff, and it comes to you finishing sixth a couple of times, then seventh, then eighth, then ninth, and it just being one of them that for the next 10 years, oh, good, we've got in the playoffs, and that being the highlight of the season. Because, as we say, the apathy of people not going to games then creeps in. And if you start taking a couple of thousand off the gate, the totally wicked's gonna just gonna have people rattling round in it, and you don't want that. It was quiet enough against Castleford, and I'm not necessarily blaming fans for that, but it was quiet enough against Castleford without us then taking a good couple of thousand off the number.
Well, Super League owners think that's just down to loop fixtures, not because the oppositions are terrible. But we'll get onto that in a minute. Can I
Yeah,
tell you, do you want my moan of the week?
yeah, go on.
My moan of the week, Papali. Everything you hear is basically that he doesn't want to come over here. He's not interested in playing for St. Helens. So if it's to be believed that the club are after him, walk away.
Yeah,
We don't want to be someone's last resort paycheck. That is not what we want as a club. And listen, I'm not naive enough to think that a lot of players sign for clubs based on wages and what's the best deal they can get. But when you're making it so blatantly obvious in public that we are the last resource option, if you don't even can get into the country, then for me, walk away. We need to be seen to be a bigger club than that, than desperate.
yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? As you say, with it being played out in public, um, it's got to be right. Make your decision. Well, I'm going to see what, and no doubt that he would be an absolutely wonderful addition. People are saying, "Oh, he's too old. He's too old." You still need that experience. It's not like FIFA where you can just put all your youth team in, and guess what? They'll get you through a season, and you'll end up winning the league and the FA Cup. It's not like that. It's This is real life sport that you need those.
Kev, I've got no doubt what you say is true about like players hanging on to see if there's a better deal out there. Absolutely fine, but don't be public about it.
Yeah, yeah. Just let it play out behind the scenes. Obviously, I think there's a lot of agent talk as well in the trying to get Canberra to offer him another year. But if that's what he wants to do, as you say, turn the sights elsewhere.
Yeah, what I will say is before we move on from this, regardless of what we've said about Wello, I do not see a point where it's now what second week of August coming
Yeah,
into that we start looking for the head coach for next season when you're in the middle of trying to, well, hopefully have a recruitment cycle. I just don't see it. For me, Wello is the man for next year, and if that's what it is, get it announced and end it now. Because allowing it to drag on doesn't help anybody.
yeah. I think that's one thing that the club as a whole could possibly do better. Just get news out there. It's news that's going to happen. News that has you have signed X player on a contract extension. Just
Parsi, for example.
get it out there. Let people have the whinge, like us. We'll have our whinge, um, and just let it happen.
They're that slow at doing things. It leaks out via All Out Rugby League Fans all have a moan. Then we have a discussion about it. Fans have a moan. Everything calms down. Then the club will come out and announce it in a month or two's time. And everybody will have a moan at that and the fact that the club haven't sold anybody for so many weeks.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
almost think, do you know what? It's almost at the point now, do you know what? Don't bother announcing it. Just have him turn up for pre-season training and just take a picture of him in the background.
It almost smacks of the John Bedison, Ben Davis 1 year deals that are announced deep into winter when nobody's really looking.
Which, if it was a if it was a player that they thought was going to go down well, it'd have been out there by now.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Moan's over. Oh
aren't
no,
they?
oh no, they're not. Eamonn has come out and discussed on the website finally um, at why the club are overwhelmingly in favour of expanding the competition to 14 teams. Or we were one of the clubs in favour of it anyway. Eamon's explained the background to the decision. He's done it on a podcast that no one listens to. He probably should have come on here if he wants to talk to Saints fans and get an audience. But hey ho, um, we probably would have bit back with our questioning and not just sucked it up.
Yeah.
Um, so apparently, it's been uniformly recognised that the loop fixtures inherent in a 12-team competition result in material revenue reductions due to the understandable unpopularity with fans and the consequent effects on gate receipts, sponsorship, hospitality, and broadcast appeal. So I will break that down. So the reason fans aren't going to games is because they don't like loop fixtures. So where at the moment we have maybe a loop fixture at home. Who's our home loop fixtures this year, Kev?
I sent it to you the other day, so hopefully I can get this pretty quickly. Salford was one.
Yeah.
Um, Cass is one because we play him last round um, of the of the league. Wakefield, our loop fixtures in total. Wakefield, that's away because this is the second time we're going away to him. Hull KR, that's away. Cass at home, Salford at home, Leeds Magic.
Okay. So loop fixtures are unpopular. So you the way it's broke down, say you finish first, is it you play third, fifth, seventh, ninth,
Yeah,
11th, or something like that. So inst you take away a couple of loop fixtures, which are competitive games against your third, fifth, seventh from last year, hopefully, and you're going to replace them with potentially a team 13 and a team 14 who are currently weaker than your teams 11th and 12th on the table because of the standard of player that they're going to be able to attract. So, because we're not playing Hull KR and we're playing, I'm going to name a random championship team here, Oldham, fans are going to come and turn up more to watch a drubbing and a non-competitive game.
yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a proper tough one that fans don't like loop fixtures. That is very, very true. But I don't think it necessarily stops them if you're getting, say, 1 year, we might have Warrington at home twice compared to Cass at home twice. Well, that gives you another bumper home gate, doesn't it?
Yeah,
If you have Leeds at home twice, it gives you another bumper gate or a bigger gate anyway. It just, I don't think like some of it adds up properly. We ran a poll over the weekend as well about whether we would expand to whether fans would expand to 14 teams in 2026. Um, I have. I'm only using the ones off X, Twitter, whatever. We did them on Facebook as well. So the question was, would you have expanded Super League to 14 teams in 2026, removing the loop fixtures for next season, but not knowing whether the promoted teams will provide competitive opposition or whether they'll add to the poor quality at the bottom of the league? Yes, 32%. No, 68%. Fans, two-thirds in favour of not expanding just yet.
well, Kevin, Eamon's statement says a detailed analysis was carried out by individual clubs. Any evidence of this?
My issue is, and I know they see the money side of it all, but as stakeholders in the game, as in if us lot stopped watching them, you could put your money in all you want, but there'd be nobody attending, nobody interested in it. Where is they've done a detailed analysis of it. What do fans want?
What I would say as fans, and I might be looking with rose-tinted glasses here, and going back to when you were a kid and watching the game. When you went to like Knowsley Road and Saints were playing Leeds, Bradford, Warrington, Wigan, the Eddington end was packed, or it felt
Yeah,
like that. Massive away followings, and that gave an atmosphere, didn't it? The fans going at the other fans and not vocally, not with fists,
not with this.
but there was a there had there was a reason to be there rather than sat at home watching on TV. The fact that they've now put every game on TV means that I believe away attendances have dwindled, and I would suggest that's across the board, including our own. Like we put a tweet out the other week saying we were taking 900 to Leeds. Like we were proud of that. That would have
Mm.
been at least 15, 1600
Yeah,
in the past. But
and you know what? It'd have probably still been the game on telly as well.
yeah,
But it would still
but the
happen.
difference there was because fans were in the habit of going to away games because not
Yeah.
every game was on TV. They just keep going away again. They wouldn't miss out because a game was on TV. Now, because every game is on TV, once you've got into the habit a number of times of, do you know what? I'm not paying 70, 80, 90 quid on Friday to go to Wakefield with the family. I'll pay 25 quid to get a takeaway, 8 cans and sit in front of the telly and not have to have the 4 o'clock journey over the 62 and get it home at midnight. Once you've done that a couple of times and that becomes your routine, it's very hard to get into the habit of going, do you know what? I'm going to spend 80 quid now.
Yeah, yeah, and you
There's
can't blame
why
them.
your attendance have dwindled. And just to add to that, the whole thing about putting every game on TV was, oh, this is going to help sponsorships, it's going to help advertising. I don't think that's materialized at all. So for me, having every game on TV is actually a major negative.
Have you watched All Out Rugby League's pod with Chris Radlinski?
No.
Right, he mentions IMG and them having access to a lot of blue chip companies that would be able to sponsor the game and get them involved in the game, and it's not on the to-do list. It's not on the sheet that they signed. It's not. It's not part of the agreement. And you think we've dropped a ball here because that's exactly we should. If it's going to be on telly, if every game is going to be on telly, I mean, nobody wants to watch Hull KR versus Salford like last week. It's going to be on telly. It should be that you are opening yourself to them blue chip companies to sponsor.
And here's
Why
the other
not?
thing, Kev. Here's the other thing as well. So, like, when you went back to when there was 2 games on TV, they were essentially, on the whole, games of the round.
Yeah,
So, it'd be like Saints Wigan or Saints Warrington, Warrington Leeds. The smaller clubs would get on a few times because to tick the box that they'd been on. But when people would tune in, it'd be a big game. It meant something. It was good quality. It built your brand. If you turn on a Thursday night now and you see Huddersfield Salford on the main channel and it's absolutely dire and there's 1,500 fellas and a dog there, why are you going to turn it on again? It makes the sport look poor. You're better not having those games on TV, in my opinion.
yeah.
I
Get
almost think
people actually to the game.
when the broadcast deal comes around next time, I genuinely think there'll be a reduction in the money. And I genuinely think Sky are going to look at it and go, we've tried having every game on TV. We've not got our money's worth out of it. It's costing too much. So here's a reduction in your money, and we're going back to 2 games a week.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Um,
Especially if it's to be believed that when they had the vote to go to 14 this year, they hadn't even spoken to Sky. Now I know Eamonn does mention that
well,
in
Eamonn
his
does say this.
statement.
He says the in principle majority decision to expand to 14 teams was made by Super League clubs 1 year ago. But after discussions with the RFL, it was decided to defer implementation from the 2025 season to 2026 in order to conduct further preparatory measures. Did they? Did anyone know this?
I don't recall it. I'm sure someone in the comments will remember it and refresh our memories, but I don't recall this.
Anyway, what
I've
else have we
slept
said?
since.
Um, Detailed analysis carried out by individual clubs. I've done that bit. It was presented comprehensively to Super League clubs before the shareholders meeting last week, recommended in favour. No clubs voted against it, although two preferred a further deferral to 2027. Importantly, any final decision is conditional upon detailed review and due diligence. And it's basically the fellows of the highest integrity, and it's way before with Lee Leopards coming in. It's critical that such process is employed over and above the IMG grading system for existing clubs, as grading alone does not guarantee solvency and growth, as was unfortunately being amplified by Salford. If the stringent standards aren't met, then we will remain at 12 in 2026. That's not going to happen, is it? Yeah.
What when he mentions Lee, what year does he mention Lee?
When they came up this time round, and that was literally because fair play
What
to
year? What year
this time when they came in 4 years ago.
does he does he mention what year it is? 2021,
Yeah.
where when they finished 12th, dead bottom, went back to the championship, got promoted in 2022.
Uh, um, Throughout each of the 28 years of Super League, our principal broadcast partners have taken the consistent view that it's the decision of the Super League clubs alone to determine the size and competition of their own competition. Recent private discussions with them have reconfirmed this long-standing and wholly understandable stance. Yes, which is it will be true. Eamonn said that, but it doesn't mean they want to broadcast every game.
No,
That's a
as
completely
you say,
different. That's a completely different argument.
as you say, picking a team at random and saying, "Well, Huddersfield Bradford on paper sounds like a good ding dong." Will it be? Will a game like that? Will Castleford versus Toulouse be a good game?
Yeah, Kev, there are some very exciting potential club additions to our competition next season. The latest success story of Wakefield amply illustrates the ability of well-funded, ambitious, and visionary championship clubs to add new excitement and value to Super League, even in their first year of participation. Didn't they come up via promotion?
Yep.
There is real potential and opportunity to add two more, and the rigorous selection process will be adopted and will strengthen. Yeah,
I think one thing I will just clarify: Lee Leopards are very, very definitely when they've come up second time round or this time round and then made a proper good fist of it. They're getting things right. They're getting things right on and off the field. They are a success story. I want to make that clear before people think I'm just having a pop because he mentions 2021 and they went back
because
down.
they've invested in the playing squad.
Yeah,
But the argument is, even if all 12 teams or all 14 teams want to invest in their squad and spend salary cap, is the quality there to do it?
no, not at the minute. And this is why
And
we
then do
said
you
the
end,
other.
Kev, and then do you end, if the quality's not there, then do you end up paying salary cap for players who aren't good enough and wasting money and a
Yeah,
poor
you could
product?
do. Yeah, you could do. And this is why I think we said it last week. Oh, I definitely said it. I'm not necessarily. I'm a fan. Sorry, of 14 teams in Super League. I'm a fan of getting rid of loot fixtures. I wouldn't have done it now. I absolutely wouldn't have done it now. I almost think it feels rushed, and if it feels rushed and it looks rushed, I'm afraid it to me that means it is rushed. And it's mad that again in our polls that we did, we asked fans when would you have expanded Super League teams beyond 12. 18% voted for next season, 32 for 2027, 23% for later than 2027, and 27% for never.
The decision now has to be supported and complemented by a stronger investment case being developed for the game itself. Carefully and correctly selected competition growth can only enhance this essential objective. I would argue then, you could have said, right, we are going to 14 teams in 2028. If you want to be considered to be one of those 14 teams, you must spend a minimum of X amount every year from now on your academy
Mm.
to grow the player pool to get in sufficient talent. Because essentially now, if you look at the current makeup of Super League, how many teams are sufficiently investing in youth and academy?
Yeah, not enough. Not enough, or not enough have done it over a good prolonged period. You always think of the main ones, don't you? Again and again. And I'll now start mentioning Warrington have realised that it's a good way of doing things as well. But you think of the main clubs over and over again, though.
A fair play to Warrington, don't often say this, they will probably start reaping the benefits in 2, 3 years' time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right.
Um, so yeah, I'm not entirely sure I agree with it, but it's going to happen, and we'll sit here next year and let's reconvene on this one towards the end of next season and see if it's been a success. All I can see at this moment in time is that we're going to get a load of blokes from the New South Wales Cup who who will never ever get a shot at the NRL coming over here and representing teams with no skin in the game, no affinity to the clubs, and just taking a paycheck and making up the numbers.
Yeah, it's fair enough because I think quite a few people will think exactly the same. Worth going to our social media, as I say as well, and having a look at the results. Then polls. I think the biggest landslide. You will be surprised at this one. Would you attend a mid-season nines tournament festival? Sorry, I called it in place of Magic Weekend if Magic was cancelled. 87% said no. 87%. You can dress it up however you want, unless, and I'll find the tweet. There
Do you
was
know
a
what,
quote.
Kev? I was thinking about this after I'd seen you put the poll on about it. I'd like to see a vote of purely people who attend Magic currently. If you attend Magic currently, would you attend a nines tournament?
Yeah,
Because
fair.
I think there's probably a fair amount of the 87% who wouldn't attend Magic.
Ten Magic anyway.
And
But
usually the people who want to get rid of Magic are the people who don't go.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't have to be a loot fixture for a start. But so as Baines I83 on Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, the only chance a nines has is with a buying this nine, but that will never happen unless there's a six-figure prize, money-wise, two Super League competition points, possible allowance for an extra marquee player the following season. And he's right there that unless you make it that you are going to win, for example, your salary cap for next year, and I'm going even bigger than his six figure, but your salary cap for next season will be paid for by winning that. Everyone will send their first teams.
Have your Super League playoffs as five. Top and out for your five, it's top five league positions, unless the team that wins the nines is outside of the top five, and make
No,
that your fifth place team. Purely because the teams who are lower than fifth will all try and go for it to try and win it to get themselves a playoff spot. And for the likes of Saints, Wigan, Leeds, Hull KR, Warrington, who could potentially finish fifth in the table, they might think we better put a decent side out and win this because we could risk losing a playoff spot.
I think my issue with one of the points that the on the Twitter is having points in a 13-a-side league for a 9-a-side game.
Listen, I'm coming up with some sort of wacky idea to make it viable. The
I'm going to
truth be
start calling
told,
you
the,
down.
the truth be told, I wouldn't watch it because it's probably crap.
Well, it's never happened. It's never worked properly. They've done it in the past, and it doesn't work.
Essentially,
Magic is
Kev, what is nines about? Is it about being able to just pass the ball and score loads of tries because you've got less players on the pitch to defend?
being quick and having a little bit of skill about you. You know who I reckon would have made an excellent nines player? Somebody like Rangi Chase.
We'd,
Someone,
or do you know what? We'd be sound if we actually put our best team out for it, like Harry Robertson, Owen Dagnall, Lewis Murphy. Owen Dagnall would score tries for fun. He'd just be booting the ball over everybody's heads and chasing it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not for me, but there we go. The other last part before we move on: if Magic goes, all those neutrals are they all going to start going the Challenge Cup final?
no, not now. I think this goes back to your thing of getting out of the habit of going to away games. You get out of the habit of it.
People go to Magic because they're following their own team. They don't go to Magic to watch everybody else's games. How many times?
Whoa,
Well,
whoa, whoa, whoa. No, I don't. I don't necessarily agree with you. Just because we only go for our game doesn't mean
no,
that
no.
other
What I'm
people
saying is,
don't.
Kev, if your team wasn't playing, most people don't go for the weekend. They probably the majority will go one day or the other. I'd say the majority.
Okay.
So you go essentially your main reason for going is because your team is playing. You might stay and watch the other games, but you're not going there because you want to watch 3 games of rugby league in a day.
I think when it first came out and when we were in Cardiff for it, like I've been to both games and watched the vast majority of the games. So being and seeing the equivalent of 5 games because you might get in at half time in the first game, and then you'll watch the second game because you know what, I want to go and see Leeds Bradford because I'm not going to go to Headingley or Odsall for it. So you go and watch it because it was there. Um, but no, I do get your point. I do get your point.
I just think if we can't attract more than 10,000 people to go a mile down the road to the Totally Wicked Stadium to watch Saints on a Friday night, you're not suddenly getting thousands of people to go to Wembley to watch a news game. We can't even get massive crowds to follow their own team to Wembley.
I think there's another point there as well that when you're on about when Eamonn was on about crowds and downturning money and stuff like that, clubs need to realise that filling your home ground on you and isn't on having a big following coming from AN or the club. So yeah, you know what? It's lovely when Wigan sell out that away end. It's great when Warrington bring a shed load of fans over. It's great when Leeds travel in numbers. It's brilliant when Lee bring more than they did last year. But you've got to make sure that you're filling your 3 stands if you're opening that M1. And if you're not opening that M1, you need to look at why not? Why isn't there something in place to get people who haven't had eyes on the game to a game and make it so you might have 2,000 people in that stand that holds 4,000. That's 2,000 people going through the concessions, maybe going in the club shop, and will have paid something for a ticket in a stand that you are not using. Get it filled. It is on us, and it is on Wigan to fill theirs. It's on Lee to fill theirs, Warrington to fill theirs, not on away fans. Need to get away from that mindset.
But again, I'll go back to it. I think part of the way to fill grounds is by making sure that an away a crowd is attracted to make it more reason to go to the ground to see something that's not on TV.
Needs to be the hottest ticket in town, and at the
Here's
minute
one
the
for you.
game.
So, like Spanish football. So, aside from Barcelona, Real Madrid, maybe Atletico Madrid, a couple of the top teams, a lot of the teams with the lower teams, the games like in the stadiums look like a bit like Super League games, just people sat there just clapping away. There's not like, why is that? Because in Spain, away fans generally don't travel to away games. It's just not
Yeah,
part of their culture. Um, why is the game so good in Germany? Because they have big away followings with big passionate crowds, which is it works. Would English football be different without the crowds that we get? Yes. It's the crowd that makes the Premier League what it is, and that's because away followings are such a big part of that.
yeah, I get that. But when you're not getting away followings, then it's on you. So in the future, we could hope that Castleford bring 3,000 and that stand gets opened. But until they are, we should be looking at putting people in that stand, getting tickets out there. And I know people will say, well, I pay for a season ticket and I don't want to be undercut when I could be using this loophole and that loophole to get tickets. But I'm sure Armed Forces, I'm sure NHS, I'm sure club sponsors, if you throw tickets their way, discounted tickets, junior clubs, local clubs, whoever, if you throw discounted tickets their way, we could have a better chance of making money off return customers because they've gone, they've enjoyed it, and they want to come back.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm just flicking through some of the comments. I'm on the actual club post where Eamon's statements. Dave Concannon's probably put some of similar points about loot fixtures that we have on here. And I'm going to finish it by quoting him where he's put, "Don't even get me started on an 18 playoff system in a 14 team competition."
Yeah,
And we'll move
yeah,
on.
yeah,
But yeah, Dave's post is actually really worth reading on that. He's gone into task like we have a little bit. So if you're following the official club accounts, have a look at the comments on Facebook.
yeah. Are we now moving away from the negative to Bill Bates' positivity corner?
Bill Bates, Positivity Corner. It's the St. Helens 21-man squad. Oh, I said I was going to put a picture of him up, didn't I?
Yes, he did. But also, um, Dave, who you've just mentioned, commented on our YouTube video saying it's made him laugh that Bill said we were negative when he's not had a good thing to say about Saints or the game since about 2009 or something. Yeah. Anyway, squad news. There's a game to look forward to. Leon Cowan drops out. Jake Davis comes in.
Players to miss out. I will go George Whitby, Jake Davis, James Bell, and Joe Batchelor.
Yeah, same. Same. I know Joe and James got some game time, and George Whitby did as well in the reserves run out. Um, whether it's a week too early for them and they need another run somewhere, that might be wise rather than trying to throw them in. Um, I think we're going to stick with what we've got. I think everybody knows that. I don't think necessarily people may be altogether happy with George Whitby missing out, but it looks like Wello was set fair with the Lomax and by partnership, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I don't see how you can change it after last week's performance. I know, again, albeit limited opposition, um, but it's working. What I would like to see, I'd like to see two stints from Parsi. He did 29 minutes to finish the game last week. Why not maximize his impact by giving him 10, 15 minutes each half?
Yeah, yeah. And
And
listen,
it keeps like Walmsley in that fresher as well.
we've yeah, because Walmsley started doing his second stint in the first half. Good point. Um, we've mentioned briefly about Parsi and a new deal. We've mentioned over the past couple of weeks how we have not been enamoured by his minutes, by his meters, by his overall performances. As we got heckled on the after we'd done Redvee as well, saying, "I hope you've been positive about him tonight." We were. Um, we just need to see that again. He needs to build on it. Them 29 and a half minutes that he did all in one goal will be great for his lungs. Absolutely. I bet they would burn in after. A bit like me running up the stairs where your lungs are burning straight after it.
And I think
But
that's Kev. I think that's what we say though, isn't it? We might put our stake in the ground with our opinion, but if our eyes show us something else, we're prepared to say.
yeah,
Otherwise, we don't put the blinkers on and just stick with it regardless of what we see.
yeah, exactly right. I'm quite happy to. Um, as I said earlier when we were talking about Wello, I'll stick with my opinion. And if Iggy Party has signed another 1 year deal, I think it's lazy recruitment. I think it's lazy retention. But as long as he's pulling the shirt on, I'm not going to go barracking him. I'm not going to go absolutely hammering him for it unless he puts in the performances like we've seen. Warrington, 3 carries, 3 meters. And I think it's fair enough to have a go at the likes of that. Whereas this week, longer minutes, looks a bit better. If he can back that up this week, tough place to go, Wakefield as well. If he can back it up this week, great. And I'll be positive about him again.
What part of this was Bill Bates' positivity corner?
Um, the fact that I'm named who was missing and who was in the squad.
Okay. I'm going to be Bill Bates' positivity corner and say I'm actually quite looking forward to a game this Friday night. I think it'll be a really competitive test against this Wakefield Trinity squad.
Yes, Matthew Cozza and Isaiah Vagana are added to the 21-man squad. Seen Wakefield Trinity Heritage, who I joined earlier in the season, have tweeted that they're very excited about this game because they've got a full strength spine and they've got an informed back line. So it should be a good game. It promises to be a real good game because they're in sixth, aren't they? 22 points. We're in fourth on 26. I said last week that whether the week off had done us good, this would be one of those barometers. You've got to be putting the wins in at these tough places to go to push yourself even further away from seventh.
And do you know what? Anybody who's watched Redvee for long enough will know that I used to absolutely despise going to Wakefield. I
Yep.
celebrated when they got relegated and in the hope that we would never go there again because it was such a dump. Didn't deserve to be in Super League. And I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised when we went back there earlier in the year about how they've turned things round. They've got an owner in who's obviously wanting to invest, probably seeing what Lee have done with Derek Bowman and wants to probably follow in their footsteps a little bit. They've got the benefit of actually owning their own ground. That big new main stand that's gone up looks the part. The ground looks so different. And it feels like the fans have bought into it as well. And have come back in pretty solid numbers. And for the size of Wakefield, yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's it. They've got a good catchment area there. Now, a lot of fans from around that area may well have wandered off to watch Leeds instead. But you're right that they've got the basis of a great setup there. Similar to Lee, and let's be honest, Lee are a great blueprint to have a look at and follow. They are in absolutely no. I think we said this at the start of the season. They were in no danger of going down this year, just because of how they've recruited, who they've got in. They've got some canny old players in there alongside some good, honest pros. And the likes of, say, was it earlier this year that some of our fans wanted Oliver Pratt signing immediately? They wanted us to drive straight over to Wakefield and just take him off their hands. Doesn't happen like that anymore. Clubs can afford to keep hold of their good players and bring them through. And yeah, they might move on in a couple of years just because of it being a salary cap sport. But there's a lot to like about Wakefield, an awful lot to like.
I think the biggest compliment you can probably give them is that they're not even in the discussion of whether they should be part of Super League next year or not,
No, absolutely. They're a given. They're an absolute given.
which would never have been the case previously.
No, I think yeah, you'd argue that as one of those yo-yo teams that seemingly was always bobbling around the bottom of the league, did obviously went down. You'd be looking and going, what value are they bringing? Now I think they do bring value. Absolutely, they're they're a good team and the fans are getting behind them as well, which is good to see. Yeah, listen, we can still say that the ground needs a bit more work, but what they've started doing with it is top notch.
Yeah. To be fair, they're getting towards three decent sides, so it's probably on a par with Headingley.
Yeah, very true.
Um, right, I was close last week. What did I say? 38.
Yeah,
It was 40 in the end. I'm going to go this week. I think it's going to be a lot tighter.
I do.
And if Saints win by 8, I'll be happy.
You know what? I was going to say exactly the same. just to be different, I'll say 10, and I'll be absolutely ecstatic. But as you say, I think it'll be lower scoring than last time we were over there. I think it'll be a tougher run out for us this time.
I was looking at the league table. If Saints have any hope of finishing third, we have to win out, which is
Yeah,
going to be tough. Which is tough on its own, given that we've got to play Hull KR, Wigan, Lee again. So you'd have to
yeah.
beat Lee, but
Hulk
equally,
out away, Lee away as well.
it also means Lee have to drop another game as well. Which, if they don't do it this week, I don't think they will.
No,
Looking at
and
it,
the
looking at Lee's remaining fixtures, if we can get them up. Um,
the issue is they play Leeds this week as well, which is if Lee drop a game, it puts Leeds 2 points,
Yeah, but
like the
we'd have to
two
win.
games.
We'd win out anyway and finish above Leeds because we're above them anyway on points difference. Um, Lee apart, so we need Lee to drop 2 games essentially. We have to win out, so that would be Lee losing one to us, and they'd have to lose another. Now they're playing Leeds at home, which is probably the biggest chance. Hull FC away, win.
Should win that. Oh, yeah,
Dolphin at home, win. Cass at home, win. Warrington away, easy win. Huddersfield at home last game.
yeah. I think third's gone.
Yeah, I don't. And that's fair. I don't see us winning out anyway. I think we're in a battle for fourth with Leeds.
Yeah, and I think, but we've got to make sure that we are putting performances in. As I said, I think it was in the instant reaction. We've got Wakefield and Hull FC coming up. They're two massive games. So you take 2 points off Wakefield this week, and you take 2 points off Hull in 2 weeks' time. You're just extending that lead over them and completely banishing the thought of having a couple of bad weeks and your playoffs start concertinaing up. You don't want to see that. We need to go over to Wakefield and get any win.
The
One
worry,
point, 1-0.
the big worry is, Kev. Obviously, we've discussed in depth our struggles against big teams in the league and the 19 or 20 game stretch it is since we've won a big one. End of August, we've got Hull KR away, Wigan at home, Lee away in 3 games before we play Cass last game.
Yeah,
If you're going with the stats that and things follow the form book, there's 3 losses.
yeah. That's why you've got to win these games. That's what you've got to.
So, yes. Right. I think that's enough for us tonight.
Yeah, how long have we been on?
Too long. But do you know what, Kev? People call us amateurish. Amateurish. I can't even say the word properly. But we've filmed this in one take. 45 minutes, 50 minutes, solid discussion. Come and have a go if you think you can do better.
Leave it there. Don't
800
forget to like,
episodes, 800 episodes up or whatever we are close to. How many views are we on, Kevin?
Don't know. This is where clicking onto YouTube Studio. Overall, is that what you're after?
Yeah. 1.4 million. Yeah.
Some go in that.
1.4 million views, 777 videos. We're not doing too bad for a couple of amateurs, which, guess what? That's what we are.
Yeah, yeah. And we're only 19,000 off 200,000 this year.
Doing something right,
I
Kevin.
know. I know when we say only, we are only, but yeah, let's go for it.
And I think we're going to finish here by saying words can hurt. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.